To absolutely no one's surprise, Russia under Vladimir Putin has officially become the world's most sanctioned country, dethroning Iran from the top spot. While the sanctions keep piling on, it's important to understand just how much of an effect they actually have on a warring nation such as Russia. But first, let's familiarize ourselves with what sanctions actually are. Penalties imposed on an individual, organization, or entity that has broken the law. This usually comes in the form of economic penalties, like freezing bank accounts, revoking lucrative business deals, as well as banning the import-export of military equipment such as weapons. 2,778 new sanctions in just 2 weeks. Image. AFP, New Straits Times. Prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which took place on February 24, 2022, it sat comfortably in second place on the global list of sanctioned countries, right behind Iran. At the time, Russia only had 2,745 sanctions imposed on it. In the weeks following the invasion, that number quickly rose to a total of 5,532, as of March 7, beating Iran's 3,616 by a long shot. The data, compiled by compliance screening company Castellum AI, shows that the vast majority of these new, post-invasion, sanctions target individuals, like politicians and oligarchs, 2,427. Other targets include 343 entities, 6 vessels, and 2 aircraft. The data also takes into account the number of sanctions imposed on Russia just before it officially invaded Ukraine on February 24, with the first of many sanctions coming from the US and other allies on February 22. Image. Castellum AI. What sets these sanctions apart from the ones imposed on other countries is the speed at which they've been adopted. It's not unheard of for sanctions to take up to 10 years to be adopted, leaving a lot of room for a country to build economic buffers against said sanctions. In Russia's case, however, these newly imposed sanctions have come to fruition with lightning speed, just a matter of days. Japanese and Ukrainian protesters rally against the invasion of Ukraine in Tokyo, Japan. Image. Reuters. The crippling economic sanctions which targeted Iran were adopted over the course of 10 years, says Castellum AI director Spencer Vucic. The same type of sanctions adopted against Russia have been implemented in the course of 10 days. Major Russian corporations have also been impacted by sanctions, along with financial institutions, in a concerted effort to completely isolate Russia from the global economy. Unfortunately, it's not the Russian politicians and oligarchs that will be feeling the devastating effects of these sanctions, it's the common Russian people, the ones that actually contribute to the economy without necessarily having huge stacks of cash to fall back to. Over in Ukraine, more than 1.7 million refugees have already fled the country, with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, calling the mass exodus the fastest-growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. The majority of people fleeing Ukraine have made their way to neighboring Poland, with 1,027,603 having sought refuge there, according to UNHCR data. Read more life stories. Malaysians share the gender biases that need to be broken in Malaysia. Thailand wants people to make more babies amid lowest birth rate in 60 years. Khairi Jamaluddin. Time for Malaysians to live alongside COVID-19. Cover image sourced from Reuters and Reuters, CNBC.